welcome to another edition of Squib Radio. I am your host, Elias Powell, and I am joined here today with Riley Pollock. How are you doing, Riley?
I'm doing really well. It's coming down to the wire here in the NFL. We're on the back third of the season, and it's getting exciting in the playoff picture.
Yeah, it is definitely heating up in the NFL. We have the red-hot Cowboys coming off a huge win against the Saints, Riley. I'm pretty sure that shocked everyone.
That was, probably one of the biggest shocks of the season so far. The Cowboys defense came out and said, we're here, we're ready to take anyone down, especially the number one offense in the NFL, and we want to win the division, and they beat New Orleans and took a one-game lead in the NFC East, so they did their job. Now if that offense could just click a little better, this could be a surprising team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't really buy it. I'm not buying into the Cowboys hype there, else their schedule's soft going forward. It's still the Cowboys. Yeah, they have Amari Cooper now, but against these playoff teams, I don't really think they would have a chance. Like, I would take the Colts over the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, and the Colts put up a stinker this week as well against Jacksonville in one of the most boring football games I've ever seen in my entire life, losing 6-0 to the Jags. I mean, that was just a garbage football game.
Yeah, Jacksonville missing Leonard Fournette on suspension was pretty tough, but you know, that Jacksonville defense, it's not bad. They haven't played great for the majority of the season, and I think that's why people are selling out that defense, I think. But they played a good game, and the Colts have a high-powered offense, so to hold them out to no points is definitely a statement. So circling back to the Cowboys, though, it's just I think they'll play one game in the playoffs and take a speedy departure from that one.
Yeah, and I mean, they play Philly this week. It's a huge game. The Eagles are a game behind Dallas right now, and Philly needs that win because they have a much harder schedule in the last few games than Dallas does, so they need to take that win from Dallas and then probably win out, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a must-win game for the Eagles, but we'll see what transpires this week. Pittsburgh, Riley, what's going on? It looks like the ship is sinking there.
Yeah, I mean, they had a bad start to the season, and they're crashing just at the worst time. It all started with Big Ben's interception in the end zone against Denver last week, and then they lose on a last-second field goal to the Chargers this week. And I mean, the Chargers are no pushover. I had them as the number 2 team in the AFC earlier this season, and it's looking like that hot take might come to fruition for me. I mean, this is a good football team.
Yeah, they definitely are playing really high football, Riley. What do you think one of the main keys of success would be for them?
For the Chargers, I feel like their defense has really stepped it up this season. I mean, Phillip Rivers has always been good. He turns the ball over in key situations. It's always been a problem of his, but I feel like that Chargers defense has really stepped it up this season. And, I mean, Melvin Gordon doesn't hurt, but they won without him last week against the Steelers. So, I mean, Phillip Rivers really needs and wants that Super Bowl ring before he retires. And I think that defense can get him closer than he's ever been. I'm not going to say the Chargers are going to make it to the Super Bowl, but this might be his best chance in his professional career to get one this year.
Yeah, the Chargers team is really playing some really, really good football right now. And that, like you said, Riley, is a really big showing of getting that win against Pittsburgh without having their all-pro running back.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot of teams can lose their best weapon offensively and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. So good on the Chargers there. I mean, they put up a stinker not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, but to come back, beat Arizona 45-10, and then to make a huge statement against Pittsburgh, now they just can't fall off. They have Cincy this week, must win. There is no way that they can blow that game because the next week they have KC, and that might be the game that determines who wins that division. I mean, the Chargers are still just one game behind KC. There's 4 games to go, so assuming they both win this week, that game, if the Chargers win, they tie KC in the AFC West. So, I mean, this Chargers team still has a valid shot at a bye. I mean, this is a really good football team, and they just can't have a stinker of a game like they've been prone to do in the past.
Yeah, they're going to have to definitely continue these overachieving ways if they want to make a run into playoffs. Another team that's playing this week that has a big game is LA. Another LA team, Riley. They've got the Bears, and we'll get to this more later, but shockingly, the Rams are only a 3-point favorite in that game.
Yeah, I mean, Mitch Trubisky is expected to be back for Chicago. But man, that 3-point line is crazy to me. I know they're on the road, but this Rams team looked pretty good the past few weeks. Chicago's D, I mean, it might be the best in the league, but I just don't know if the offense led by Mitch Trubisky has the horses to run with the Rams, and I see it being a double-digit loss, honestly.
Yeah, that's what you would assume, but their defense is playing really well. And, you know, you saw LA go head-to-head with the Chiefs and just shred their defense, but if Chicago can hang with LA, you know, can the offense, you know, keep giving it to that Chicago defense? You got, like we've said many a times, Akeem Hicks playing well. You got Khalil Mack. Goff is just going to, I think he's going to have a ton of pressure on him all day with those two. And then their secondary is playing really well too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking nothing away from this Bears defense. It's more on me thinking that the offense isn't really going to be able to move the ball that well. The Rams defense has stepped it up the past couple weeks. They seem to be clicking a little better with all those studs on the defense. There's no way the Rams shouldn't have the best defense in the league, and they have not shown it yet this season. So if they can come together and really prove themselves, they're going to be even more dangerous than they have been already. And judging by the last couple of weeks, I really think they're starting to hit their stride.
Yeah, they're definitely peaking in the right time. Some news to take care of. I guess the biggest news came to us. What was that? Was that Friday?
Yeah,
Friday that the news came out of Kansas City running back Kareem Hunt. The video surfaced of him kicking. What was it? Was it one of his girlfriend's friends in a hotel?
Well, it was allegedly a girl that was invited back to the hotel from the bar or something. And from what I've heard, I mean, none of this is official. I don't know how it could be official, but there was an altercation inside Hunt's hotel room between his girlfriend and this girl. They asked her to leave, apparently, and she wouldn't, and then he flipped out and started pushing her and throwing his buddies into her and kicking her after she had bounced her head off the wall. I mean, it's just that it's a really sickening video.
Yeah, it's a tough look. It makes you think back to that whole Ray Rice situation. So Kareem Hunt has landed himself on the commissioner's, what is it? What's that list called?
The exempt list.
Yeah, that's what it is, the exempt list. So he's found himself on there for probably quite some time, and then he might not even get picked up by teams. So
yeah, he's a free agent as of right now.
Yeah, so that remains to be unseen. Kareem Hunt's future in the NFL, which is too bad that, you know, he goes out and does something like this. Mind you, I believe it was in May that this whole altercation happened.
It was February, I believe.
Was it February?
Yeah.
Okay, so this has been under the table for a long time.
Yeah, and the NFL completely blew it too. I mean, they said that they did an investigation on it, but they didn't talk to Hunt or the girl involved. I mean, how do you do an investigation without talking to the two people involved in the altercation? I just don't understand.
Yeah, that's just another case of the NFL blowing one of their said internal investigations.
Yeah, to me, it seems like the NFL doesn't actually care when women are abused. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's a bad look for the NFL, and that's just another PR nightmare for them. Other in the news stuff, we've got longtime Green Bay Packers coach Mike McCarthy has found himself outside of the organization. Riley.
Yeah, he got canned after Green Bay lost this past week, right after the game, and he said he was surprised by it. I've seen it as a thing of a long time coming. There, he just didn't manage the offense properly. Aaron Rodgers, has been seen rolling his eyes after play calls and, blah, 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 openly questioning McCarthy's calls for a while now. And Aaron Rodgers said that he hopes that he wasn't one of the reasons that McCarthy was fired. But, come on, dude. You're probably the main reason that McCarthy got fired, honestly. Aaron Rodgers hasn't played that well this season. And to me, it seems like Aaron Rodgers can do no wrong, I mean, Drew Brees misses the playoffs how many times? It's always on him, blah, blah, blah. And I think Drew Brees is the main comparison to Aaron Rodgers. And it just seems like Rodgers is this golden boy that can do no wrong. And I think a lot of this season's blame falls on him. He hasn't been the player that he has been in the past. And I honestly think that led to Mike McCarthy's firing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's all been this season. Mike McCarthy is he's been pretty questionable for a couple years. I think this comes way too late. His tenure in Green Bay has come to an end. Like you said, all season, just questionable calls, and it sort of makes me question is that the NFL just evolving, and Mike McCarthy is just, he's one of those old school coaches and he just couldn't evolve with the game? Or did he just lose a step? He was a fantastic coach, and it's bizarre to me to just see someone, you see these old coaches, they go out of the door with some dignity, they're choosing to move somewhere else, whereas McCarthy just straight up got fired.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know that if he was a great coach or if Aaron Rodgers in his peak just covered up McCarthy's offensive flaws. So
yeah, that's a discussion in its own right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was probably the best quarterback in the league for a few seasons there, especially when they won the Super Bowl. I mean, his only Super Bowl, Aaron Rodgers was insane. And I don't know that McCarthy was that great. I think Aaron Rodgers just willed this team to wins. Another reason that I think he got fired is his use of Aaron Jones. I mean, Aaron Jones averages 5.7 yards per carry. He's only touched the ball 112 times on the ground, and he has 7 touchdowns. I just think if Aaron Jones touches the ball 20, 25 times a game for Green Bay, they're winning a lot more games than they have this season. He's so dynamic, but he just doesn't get the ball in his hands.
Yeah, and that's been a big question on lots of people's minds all season, because he was a pretty good fantasy sleeper. He was coming off a suspension at the beginning of the season, but yeah, I don't know. It must have been something that internally where Mike McCarthy, just doesn't like the guy, because he's an incredible football player. So
absolutely,
I guess the coaching change in Green Bay is something to look into moving forward.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how that all plays out. If they bring in a veteran guy, or they go the Sean McVay route and just bring in a young, smart mind that's more accustomed to the new NFL. Maybe an NCAA type offensive coordinator, because it seems like the league is really moving towards that high-scoring, high-powered offense style of football.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily NCAA. You've got Andy Reid, the quarterback whisperer in Kansas City. So I think they don't necessarily need someone to mold an old quarterback, obviously, because they have Aaron Rodgers. But I think a younger guy that can really juice that offense. They don't have the all-around playmakers that they used to, but I think with a little bit of tweaking, that Green Bay offense is right back to where it used to be.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Aaron Jones touches the ball a few more times. he opens it up a little bit more for Aaron Rodgers. They've had quite a few injuries in the receiving core this season as well. Yeah, I mean, this Packers team, in my opinion, doesn't need to do a whole lot. I think most of it comes down to the defensive side of the ball. They're not great on the defensive side of the ball. And if Aaron Rodgers struggles, there is no one that can help back him up. So that team needs a little tweak on defense, maybe another receiver option, I would say, on offense. And I don't think they're far off.
Yeah, it's definitely not their year, but they are going to bounce back. And that's the same with every year. Coming into the season, everyone thinks the Packers are going to be the cream of the crop of the NFL. So we'll see what they do next year. Switching gears a bit here, Riley, we had some pretty good NCAA games on the weekend.
Yeah, there was some great football this weekend. I mean, the Big 12 championship wasn't great. Oklahoma took down Texas 39-27, I believe the score was there. So I thought the Longhorns were going to take that one. It's nice to see Texas back in relevancy in the NCAA because it's been quite a while. The Vince Young years, the Colt McCoy years, that was great for Texas football, but it has died right out, and it's nice to see them back in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, it is always nice to see the Longhorns come to light. You know, there's such a good school, and it's entertaining football to watch. So they've surprised everyone this year. I think the big game everyone was talking about was Georgia Alabama.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that was a big one.
What a game that was.
This is the first time I have found myself cheering for Alabama in my entire life. And it started when Jalen Hurts came off the bench. I just love that this kid stuck it out at Alabama when he could have transferred, could have been pouty, he's a great quarterback. He probably starts for 24 or 20, 20 at the least other top 25 teams this season. I mean, Jalen Hurts has guided Alabama to championships before, but he got surpassed by Tua, who's also unreal. And instead of pouting about it, Hurts stuck it out at Alabama, and he comes in the biggest moment of the season, leads the team on 2 touchdown drives for the 35-28 win over Georgia. I mean, unreal.
Yeah, and that just seems to be the Alabama mantra. You go look back at the national championship last year where Jalen Hurts gets pulled at halftime, and Tua comes out and wins Alabama a national championship. So it really seems like Saban's got that entire program dialed in. It's next man up, It just wasn't working for Tua that day, and it's like, okay, well, let's put Jalen in and continue to go win this football game.
Yeah.
This Alabama team is just, it blows my mind every week. And I could see when I tuned into the game and Alabama was losing, I could just feel Alabama fans around the world just terrified that this was going to happen. But in classic Alabama fashion, they came back and got that win.
Yeah, Georgia teams just aren't good in championship games. They like to blow big leads. It's just how it is.
Yeah. We were hoping to have Robbie here today. He's actually out with an illness, which is either caused by food, but I also believe that he is in school right now and just immerses himself in the cesspit of viruses that is university. So he's out today, but I think he had some points on the Heisman that we should maybe try and go over because Tua and Kyler Murray, they're even now.
Yeah, they are both minus 120 in the Heisman race. I mean, Kyler Murray played out of his absolute mind. And, this kid is so good too, but can you make them even after 1 week of football? I mean, Tua got hurt, for goodness sakes. How can you just say, oh, Kyler Murray played a great game and Tua got hurt, so now they're even? I mean, Kyler Murray plays some pretty weak defenses this year. I just think Tua is the far and away Heisman Trophy winner. Not to take anything away from Kyler Murray. He's had a great season, but he just doesn't play as good a defenses as Tua does.
Yeah, and Tua doesn't play fourth quarters.
Yeah, he plays 3 at best.
Yeah, so
because they're winning by 50.
people can say what they want about that, but it's still not even close. And as Robbie would say, it's to his show to win right there. So that's where I stand.
I agree. I think it would be an absolute travesty if Tua didn't win the Heisman this year.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I guess we have no real CFL picks. CFL football is done, as many of you know.
I would just like to say that Orlando Steinhauer has been promoted from assistant coach and defensive coordinator for Hamilton to head coach, and the previous head coach, June Jones, is going to make a little side move and be the offensive coordinator. You don't see that a whole lot where a head coach stays on the staff and gives up his job, but apparently he suggested it. So kind of a cool move there. Orlando Steinhauer, very due to be a head coach, so I'm glad he got the opportunity, and I'm interested to see how this coaching staff helps this Hamilton team next season.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I personally didn't see that, but yeah, I guess it was his time. I don't know. I don't even really know what to say about that.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, June Jones is old. He's an old dude. So to get like a younger, defensive-minded coach in there, I think is a good move for Hamilton. I mean, they made it to the East Final last year. They got blown out, and so now they just figured that it was time to make a move. I mean, June Jones did an unreal job with Jeremiah Mazzoli. He was a bottom-tier starting quarterback at best when June Jones came. I mean, Zach Collaros was starting for them. And then they pulled Collaros after, I believe it was an 0-9 start, put Mazzoli in, and he won. I think they went 500 in their last 9 games. So, and then this year, obviously, they had a pretty good season as well. So June Jones has done some good things, but I think it's just time for some new blood to take over the reins. And I think it'll be a good move for Hamilton.
All right. Well, with that little bit of CFL news taken care of, why don't you take us through our picks, Riley?
Well, this week was a pretty good week for two of us. Tough one for old Robbie. Robbie went 0-3, I believe, last week. It just wasn't a good week for him. He took Indy -4 versus Jacksonville. They lost. He took the Saints at -7.5. They lost. And KC was -15. They only won by 7, so that's another loss. So Robbie is now 15-15 on the season. None of those picks are bad-looking picks on paper, though. I mean, Indy -4, the way Jacksonville was playing, probably. The Saints -7.5 against Dallas. I mean, I would have taken that all day long, and then KC probably should have beaten Oakland by more, too. So, I mean, just bad timing for Robbie there. I don't mind the picks that he made, though.
Yeah, it was a rough weekend in the sport. We've had 3 tough weeks in the sports betting world back to back. It's been a rough go.
Yeah, I went 2-1. So I'm 17-21-1 on the season as I look to climb back to 500. I had Cleveland +6 versus Houston. That did not work out for me. I had Baltimore +1 versus Atlanta. That did work. I bet against my Falcons because it just looks like they've checked out a little bit, honestly. And I had New England -5 versus Minnesota, and that was a W as well. So 2-1. And 17-21-1 on the season. As for you, Eli, you got back in the positive books after a couple rough weeks. You're 22-16-1 now. You went 2-1. You had Denver -4.5 versus Cincy. That one for you. Houston -6 versus Cleveland. That one for you. But you lost with Indy at -4 versus Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's good to be back in the win column with all of this misses going on and just these crazy weird games. I don't know. I'll take 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1's a nice record.
Yeah.
This week there's some big lines here, and off air you kind of mentioned that there's some spicy picks to take this week. I'll start with myself, I guess. I have New Orleans -8 versus Tampa Bay this week. I think they're going to come in a little pissed off after that Dallas game, so I think -8 is a nice line against a not very good Tampa Bay team. I have the Chargers minus 14 versus Cincy. Cincy doesn't have a quarterback. The Chargers are playing well, and they know that they have to pretty much win out to catch KC for the division lead, so I think they will win by at least 2 touchdowns in that one. And then I have Buffalo minus 3.5 versus the Jets. Josh Allen just finds ways to win. He's that quarterback that you can just see that kid making moves. And whether it's running or passing, Josh Allen is just trying so hard to get that Buffalo team some W's, and I think he will against the Jets this week.
Yeah, and just to jump in, I believe me and Robbie had another 40 bet last week that I, again, lost. My picks are well, but my 40 bets are not.
What was it? Was plus 1.5 on a...
Yeah, JJ Watt sacks. So, that was a tough one.
Did you take the over on the 1.5? I believe you did. I think he took the under.
I think I did. I usually take the over on these bets, so I think that's pretty safe to say. So yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, too bad there. Too bad, so sad there, Eli. But win some, you lose some. I think you're like 1-3 in 40 bets this year now.
Yeah, I think I am.
It's a little ugly. All right, well, we'll go on to Robbie's picks before we get to yours here. He's taking the Patriots minus 7.5 versus Miami. I think that's a pretty safe bet. He's taking the Falcons plus 5 versus Green Bay. I think that's just a battle of two teams that are checked out, knowing they're not going to make the playoffs. But Green Bay might play good now that McCarthy's gone. Who knows? And he has the Rams minus 3 versus Chicago, so he's taking no upset in that Rams-Chicago game. He's on my side that the Rams will win that one. Eli, what do you got for us this week?
Yeah, I might. I'm just taking a look at this right now, and I might do a little bit of an audible here, just so me and Robbie separate our games there. I'll start off. I'll start off with Detroit at minus 3 over Arizona. That's easy. Arizona's awful, and Detroit's competent, I would say, and I think they can come out of there with a win. KC, I'm going to take at minus 6.5 against Baltimore.
Who starts this week game, for the Ravens?
I think Lamar starts.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he's 3-0.
He's 3-0. No point not to start him. So
yeah.
I think it's business as usual there in Baltimore. And I just think KC puts it to Baltimore. I don't think Baltimore's offense can hang with that. And I was going to take that Atlanta game, but I'm going to do a little audible here, and I'm going to take Houston minus 4.5 over Indy.
I mean, Houston 9-game winning streak.
Yep, hottest team in football right now.
Yeah,
so.
They were the first team to win 8 consecutive games after a three-game losing streak, and now they've won 9 in a row. So 9-3, running away with the division. And I'd have to agree with you on that one. Houston looks good.
Yeah, they're playing good football. So I'll go with that one. We can lock that up there, Riley.
All right, that's what we got. Just a quick recap here of this week's picks. I have New Orleans minus 8 versus Tampa, the Chargers minus 14 versus Cincy, Buffalo minus 3 versus the Jets. Robbie has the Pats at minus 7.5 versus Miami. He's taken the underdog Atlanta Falcons at plus 5 versus Green Bay, and the Rams at minus 3 versus Chicago. And Eli looking to run away with the picks championship this year. He's got Detroit minus 3 versus Arizona, KC minus 6.5 versus Baltimore, and Houston minus 4.5 versus Indy.
All right, and that is all we have for you guys this week. Thank you again for listening. And from us at Squib Kick, we will talk to you next week.
See ya.
I got you stuck off the realness. Think not the shit's too hot. Too hot. Too hot. Rock you in your face. Dab your brain with a nose bone, nose bone, nose bone.
I'm a vampire walking on the surface of the sun. Feel the sun, feel the sun, feel the sun.